Hi Stampers, this is Deb from Deb's Daubers in Urbandale, Iowa. Today I'm going to be working with a die set called Give It A Whirl. This was brought forward from the last catalog, but I hadn't used it yet, and I thought it would be good to maybe promote it a little bit because it's very versatile. So it's found on page 171 of the catalog, right here. You can see all the pieces. Comes with a ton of dies. Here are all the dies cut out, all the pieces. And you will notice they look a little bit, some of them look a little bit different on the actual dies because there's 4 pieces here. That you will notice all have a little hole. The only part that cuts out is the square part like this, or the round part like this. Those little holes don't cut out, but they help you line up with your card base. And so that's going to be an important thing to use as we're moving along and using this. It takes all the guesswork out of where you have to place your die in order to cut it and have the circle go around. So the base and the round part are the ones we're going to use the most out of this set. The other ones will come in handy, and I will begin showing you how I've used them today. The first thing you want to do is to decide on what you want to cut out. And so I'm just going to make one card. There's some hints with this though. You've got the wheel. I don't know if you can see that underneath there, white on white, but here we go. When this cuts out with the die, it leaves a little bit of embossing so that you can see where those centers are. It cuts out just plain like this. They're kind of hard to see. I don't know if you can actually see them in the light here, but there's some little emboss marks so that if you get the right light, you can kind of tell where you're going to need to stamp depending on which cutout you're going to be using. There's a trick you can take, and you can center your die on there to the hole, and you can lightly draw those in there so that you know where to stamp, so that you can erase them. Remember, this is all going to be seen as it's whirling around, so you don't want those to end up there, but you can do slight marks. And that will be helpful in centering, knowing where to stamp your stamps. Another thing that I just discovered tonight that I found is going to be really easy and helpful is to make a template out of your card. Cut out, use your die to cut out where the center is going to be by lining up the shape that you're going to use. So this is your base, and you just line up those holes, and then you cut it out. And the nice thing about this is it can go any direction. So you can have it here, you can have it here, you can have it here, any place around except for maybe right there, but you can have it any place on your front of your card that you want it to be. So this one, when the card is finished, it would be in the center, or maybe this way where you have your designs. Put this up here just for the heck of it, right here, where you have your designs coming through the side there, or whichever way you want it to look. You just twirl it around there. So I've got a template for this and for this, so that if I decide that I want to use one of these, I can line up those holes. I can use some Post-it notes, sticky notes, to kind of hold that down. and then stamp right over it. Or lift it up and stamp in that spot so that you have an idea of where to stamp on your wheel. And then you can turn it and do it again and again till you get all of your stamps on there. Another way you can do it is by making a template with all of the little cutouts that can be for the centers. So here's one with the circles. That one I got off a little off center. Here's one with the hearts. Here's one with the semicircle triangular things. So they've got 4 options. And in that case, you could just take it and line it up and use this as your template to stamp. Stamp, stamp, stamp. Helps you measure where you're going to stamp. It's probably the trickiest part, is getting the stamp on that's going to fit in the space that you have. So that's a good way to do it. Now, I did find that when I was stamping one card, let me show you the one that I did with this, was this one. This was using the Begin with a Dream. That's one of the Hostess sets that you can get. I did find when I stamped this one on with that stamp, what I needed to do is to take and mask off these so that the stamp doesn't get on the other part. So you can do it like that and then stamp. Because I've got, on this stamp I have several critters, I'm not going to be using them all, so I'm just going to be using that many, and I'll stamp it and have room for it there. And if that doesn't work, lift it up and stamp underneath it. So I was able to do the people, the saying, and another saying with that one. So what I'm going to do today is another one, not using any of these templates, because it can go beyond using what's in the die set to using other stamp sets with dies that you have already in your stash. So today we're going to use the Painted Poppies set. That's found on page 29. It's one that was brought back from last year. It also has the dies on page 173 that we're going to use today. And basically it has a frame here that works perfectly for a window in your card. So let's do it. So I've already taken and cut out my base. I cut out my flower. I kind of eyeballed it with my, if you can see the little hole there, that's where the hole is. Another way you can do it is when you put your paper down to cut it out, you can put your template over it and kind of fit that in there, or fit it underneath like this to help you determine where it is you need to cut it. And then you tape it down a little bit with some washi tape just to hold it on there, then cut it out, and then it will be perfectly placed, because with this one you don't have the little circle to match up the circles, but it's going to work anyway. The next thing you can do then is to take your cardstock and use your template again to match up the holes and begin stamping. So with this one I'm going to double stamp. It's a double stamp. I'm going to stamp off. I'm going to use the back side. I'm going using Poppy Parade. Don't want it that dark, and just kind of, this is just kind of a miscellaneous background, so I can go in there and just stamp it like that to give me a background. And of course I stamped it too low. Not to fear. Double stamp is here. And then we take our second stamp, the detail stamp, and this one will fit right inside this outline because it's the die that's used to cut out this poppy. So when you get done, you have like that. And then you can turn it, clean your stamps and turn it. Match that up. And turn it slightly again and go to your next one and do the same thing. Another handy way to do this is using your Stamparatus that you can, it helps measure and helps it turn easily so you can line things up. Okay, I'm going to use a parakeet. Not sure if there's a parakeet poppy, but since this is art, we can do whatever we want. They make such a pretty color on the scrap paper. There we go. Doesn't look like much right here, but let's put it together and see what we got. I spent about 2 hours this morning trying to find my the wheel, this piece. I'd been using it and I wanted to use it again, and I'd cut out a bunch of circles, but I wanted to cut out another one out of a different color and hunt it and hunt it and hunt it. And do you think I could find that silly thing? The upside of it is I got my craft room cleaned out. So now I can find many things. And then as I was doing something else, I happened to cross it. Okay, you've got to use some little brads. There's some in the new catalog or whatever you might have on hand, and join the circles there. Don't tighten it down too tight. You want it to be a little loose so that the thing will turn around so that it'll flow. So here you go. Here we've got our different colors that'll show up in the flower wheel. And then we can proceed to put it together. You do need to use either dimensionals, but what works really great, and this is found on, are these adhesive strips that you can find on page 124, because you can do the length that you need, and they're a little bit taller, I think, than the dimensionals, and they hold it up enough so that the wheel will turn freely. So you want to make sure that there's no adhesive stopping your wheel at all. So don't put it right tight up to the wheel. These are great for this project. And I think we can put one right up top there. Okay, so that's how that goes. And then we can remove the adhesive. I'm going to use the Poppy Parade paper, but I'm going to put a white behind it because I like the contrast. The one thing you'll notice about this piece, it doesn't cut exactly the same as what we're used to for the inner piece. It's taller, so it comes out to be about let's see here, 4.75 by 3.75. So it's not quite what we're used to when we're doing these kind of things, but works out just fine. Okay, and then we're ready to layer it on. Normally I stand up to do this because I can see it much better standing up. So here we go. It twirls around like that. And then you can finish off your card however you like. I was going to use some lattice from the new split edge, split card dies that I just got yesterday and had to play with. So let's do that. Going to trim the end here. Isn't that pretty? And then of course poppies have leaves. And these were all cut out from the dies from the poppy set. What you can do is if you work it just right on these with whatever you're doing on the front, you can kind of cover up your brad a little bit. So depending on where you put your leaves, I'll put dimensionals on the back of that and put these around, but I'm going to show you one that I've got done so I don't take all your time doing that. You can figure that out. But here's one I did earlier, my practice piece. So I put the leaves all around it, and I did one leaf with the small dimensionals, so it lifted it up enough so that it could cover up the brad. And use the little arrow. I don't know if you noticed in the one of the little cutouts is an arrow that you can use. You can either use the arrow or you can use the little embossing arrow. I never think ahead of time to use the embossing arrow when I'm cutting out my doing my paper, so I kind of like that, the little cutout color one, because it shows up a little better. Then you can add your sentiment, add your decor, whatever you want to do on that, and you've got a nice little card. I've showed you that one. I showed you this one. Here's another one. This one I did by using some of the current bright colors, and this was something that I have to watch. Cut out the teapots from the DSP, from the designer series paper, and glued them on. If you do use anything that stands up, you have to make sure that it's down solid enough that it's not going to catch as it goes around in the circle. So here we go. We've got choose your teapot. Choose your flavor of tea. Isn't that cute? The other one I'm going to show you is one that the stamp set is not, it was a last year's stamp set, but I had to make a card for my grandson. And so I wanted to use the baseball set because he's a baseball player. And I saw a card on Pinterest that I thought, well, I could do that. And so here is the card. And this one rotates around. I'm your #1 fan. He's going to be turning 14, but 14 is also his number in baseball. And then I printed the logo that comes on for their school. And these are stars from the die set. And I think he'll really like this little card. I just stamped happy birthday and fussy cut that. Oh, I had another really cute one here I wanted to show you as well. This one. This was using the In the Moment stamp set. So for this one, I used one of the clouds that came in the die set and cut out a cloud shape. And as we go around, we've got, starts out with Hello Sunshine. And then we've got birds that fly. And then, of course, this gal was cut out from the In the Moment stamp set. I love this stamp set. Any one of these would have worked, really. But I could just see sitting out in the sunshine. One of my favorite things to do is sit out in nature and look at the sky and watch the birds and just feel the breezes and so forth. So I did fussy cut this. There's no die for this one, but it's not that difficult to fussy cut. So I did it, and then I used one of the little clouds from the inside of this. I cut out one of the smaller ones and just added that over the brad so that it covers it up. So that's the set. I did see a cute option. I didn't have time to make it, but what they did was to make a card holder with it for a gift card. And how they accomplished that was they took, let's see if I can find my extra pieces here. They took their top piece when they had it all done. Didn't have this cut out. It was just, they were just using this piece. And then on the back side, sorry, I got some of his little things there. They used the adhesive and ran it up here and up here, and then on either side of this piece they ran this so that a card would fit. So you put the card down, and maybe there, and maybe there, a piece there and there, so that the card would slide in and out like that. And then they decorated it. I thought that was kind of a unique card holder that you could use this for as well. So I think that's it. I hope that if you have this, it'll give you some new ideas on how to use it, or if you don't have it, it might encourage you to add it to your collection because it can come in very, very handy. You have all these pieces and parts to work with, even for other cards. It's a great little set. So thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day. Excuse me.